Alright everyone, so to start this tutorial off, I'm going to be taking a little bit of MAC's Oil Control Lotion. This is actually an oil-free moisturizer, so I made sure that I use this because my client did tell me that her skin is more oily. So grooming the brows a bit and taking MAC's spiked brow pencil just to define the brows on the bottom and on the top a little bit. Now taking a little bit of Prolongwear concealer, and this is in the shade NW20, and using this to clean up the shape of the brow a bit and give it a much cleaner shape. Then taking whatever's left and pulling that downwards, and I'm going to be taking the Morphe M511 brush just to blend that out right after. Taking a little bit of my favorite primer to use on clients, and this is Painterly Paint Pot by MAC, and taking that with the same brush I've been using, the 252 brush by MAC, and putting this all over the eyes. For the eyeshadow, I'm taking a palette that I pretty much made myself and using Brule eyeshadow by MAC in the inner corner and on the brow bone. And for the crease, taking a little bit of Malt, and you really want to make sure that you build up this color to the intensity that you want. After putting on Malt, do a little bit of soft brown, and this is going to give it that much deeper shape. After soft brown, I'm using a little bit of Saddle, which you're going to see here in a little bit. When I take Saddle, I make sure that I use a 217 brush because a 217 brush is a lot more dense and you're going to get a lot more color from it. So taking Saddle, going back in with a 224 brush just to blend everything out. And then with a deeper shade, this is called Everyone's Darling, and this is a matte color by MAC as well, and using that just to intensify the crease a little bit. Taking the Dose of Colors eyeshadow duo, this is in the shade Shell. I'm using the primer that it comes with and a flat shader brush. This is a 239 by MAC, and I'm laying this all over the lid where I want the pigment to go. Once I've laid it down, make sure that you wet the brush a little bit before putting on the pigment just to get it that rich color that you're seeing right now. Going back in with the blending brush just to blend the two colors in together, and after that I'm going to be taking the highlighter and I'm using MAC's Dazzle Light just in the inner corner and on the brow bone. And for her liner, I'm going to be taking Blacktrack because it's my favorite gel liner. I feel like it's very flexible and very forgiving, so you can really build it to the shape that you want it to be. Now if you mess up, have no fear. Take a little bit of Fast Response eye cream from MAC and use that to clean up the shape of the liner. For her lashes, I customized the creme lashes in the style 217 by adding a little bit of long individuals just towards the end. Now taking a little bit of the Skindinavia makeup primer, using about 3 spritz of this. This is actually a silicone-free primer, which is going to leave just a smooth canvas on the skin. Also taking a little bit of the Benefit Professional primer just for that added touch to make sure her skin is nice and prepped. And taking the Benefit High Beam and using this just in the high points of the skin to add an added glow, but just making sure that we only put it in the areas where we want it to look more dewy. For her foundation, we're using a little bit of MAC's Studio Fix Fluid, and she's actually in the shade NC42. Now I'm sure you've seen me using this tool a lot throughout the video. This is the Beauty Blender. Make sure you're using it damp just to blend everything out. Now this is my favorite concealer to use on myself and on clients. This is the MAC Prolongwear Concealer. I'm using the shade NW25 on her, placing this underneath the eye wherever we want to correct and just brighten up a little bit. And just keep blending that thing, girl. Just keep blending. Now for her highlight and contour, I'm going to be using the Graftobian High Def Glamour Creams. The one for the highlight is actually the warm palette in the shade number 1, and I'm using the color Vixen. And the shade for the Graftobian palette for the contour is the warm palette number 3, and you'll find me using the 159 brush from MAC for this. To set her foundation and the contour, I'm using the Mineralized Skin Finish Powders by MAC, and for her I'm using the shade Medium Golden. Before setting your concealer, make sure that you go back in with your beauty blender just to blend out any creases. And to set her highlight, I'm using the Banana shade from the Anastasia Contour Kit. For her contour, using MAC's Studio Fix powder in the shade NC50. And I really wanted to go for that sun-kissed look on her, so I'm taking Give Me Sun Bronzer by MAC and just placing this a little bit higher above than where we placed the contour. So for her nose contour, I'm actually using the darker shade from the Anastasia Contour Kit, because if I would have used NC50 or Give Me Sun, it would have looked too red, and you really want to avoid doing that for a nose contour. Now just picking up a little bit of a translucent powder with my beauty blender. You can take any translucent powder that you have. I simply have Laura Mercier in my kit, so I'm using that wherever you see me using it right now. And taking a lighter pencil for her waterline. This is the NC15 NW20 Concealer Duo Pencil by MAC, and just dusting off the translucent powder now. For her lower lash line, I'm pretty much going to be using the same colors that we use on her crease, but just picking it up gradually. So using Saddle at first, then I went in with Swiss Chocolate, and then Carbon. Now this is a game changer right here. So this is a cream color base from the MAC's Vibe Tribe collection. This is in the shade Yellow Topaz. So using that with that same 159 brush that I was using for all my creams, and I'm just lightly dabbing this on top of her cheekbone. Taking a little bit of Melba Blush by MAC and a bigger brush because I want to place it very lightly, and using that to add some color to the skin. After that, we're going to be using the Anastasia Illuminators, but just making sure that we wet the skin first for it to grab onto something, and I'm using the shade So Hollywood. Now last but not least, we're going to be filling in the lips. So for her lip pencil, I'm using MAC Spice Lip Pencil, and I'm going to be taking the Anastasia liquid lipstick in the shade Pure Hollywood. After in just a bit, you'll see. And to give a nice plump to the lips, I'm taking MAC's Love Nectar Luster Glass just in the center. And that completes my first makeover tutorial for you guys. So if you enjoyed watching this, make sure you give it a thumbs up. And if you're not subscribed, make sure you subscribe if you want to see more of these. So until my next video, guys, bye!